Hey guys, how are you all doing? Welcome to my channel. So, today we are gonna see, what if Naruto got harem with Nico Robin, part 2. So before we start, go check out the author of this fanfic, Coming of Chaos, link is in the description, also subscribe if you enjoy the video, let's start the story. Everything was peaceful for the Straw Hats as everyone did their usual things, along with their new little friend, Chopper, who had joined them at Drum Kingdom. Luffy was off fishing with Usopp, while Zoro and Vivi sat off to the side, one reading a book, the other sleeping as Chopper went about checking his medical supplies. Yep, everything was peaceful in the crew. Enough already. Just die, you greedy ass brat. That is if you don't count the fact that the crew's treasure hunter was about ready to kill their navigator at the moment. How mean. You die. Nami yelled back as she and Naruto's face were inches apart. Beside, all I'm doing is telling you to pay the crew entrance fee. Which just so happens to be a 150 fucking million, hell no. Naruto growled back as Zoro opened one eye and smirked. He was enjoying how they now had someone who was actually able to stand up to Nami. Hell, it was thanks to the guy that he was able to finally get out of debt with that woman. Of course now he owes Naruto, but the new blonde of the crew could be really careless when Zoro paid him back, just as long as Zoro did. You fox-faced shithead, stop cursing at Nami-san. Sanji growled, trying to deliver a swift drop kick to the treasure hunter, only for said hunter to lean back, letting Sanji fly past, and over side of the Going Merry, nearly falling into the sea, but managed to grab the sides. Hey Iro Cook, are you going to keep attacking me every time I get into an argument with the soulless Ginger over there? Naruto asked. You go to hell, Naruto. Nami screamed at them, but Naruto ignored her altogether at this point, and truth be told he could be really careless about Sanji's antics, however dealing with Sanji was much easier than dealing with Nami. Of course, now apologize to Nami-san and help me up. Sanji yelled to his fellow blonde, who gave a mock sigh as if he was sad about something. Since I'm not about to do that, it can't be. You'll have to die here. Naruto replied as he began lazily pulling one of Sanji's hands up off the ship, seemingly to make him let go. Stop. Stop. I'll really fall. Sanji yelled, causing everyone to sweat drop at the two. Vivi, who had gotten used to the Straw Hat's antics by now, knew Naruto wouldn't really do, at least. She hoped he wouldn't, and walk over to Nami, who was at the moment trying to think of another way to get some money from Treasure Hunter, while holding map in her hand. Nami-san, how long do we reach Alabasta? Vivi asks Nami, who looks up from the map to the blue-haired girl. If we keep moving at the pace we're going, I'd say about a week at most. Nami replies, catching Naruto's attention as he stops taunting Sanji and walks over to them, leaving Sanji still hanging off the ship. Hey, can you show me where we are on that map? Naruto asks Nami, who looks at him for a moment before turning back to the map. I'd like to talk about it here. That'll be 5 million, please. Nami said and grinned that ever so cat-like way of hers. Hell no. Naruto said, growing rather defensive, and the electricity going between them was so thick, you could see it. Vivi looked around nervously, hoping a fight didn't start as Naruto took the map and looked to where she was pointing before pulling out a black book and flipping through the pages. Hey Naruto. Come join us in fishing. Luffy yells as Chopper helps Sanji finally get back on deck. Naruto just waves him off as he continues looking through the book before stopping at a page and looking back and forth from the book to the map. Yep, they match up. Hey Usopp, stop the ship here. Naruto calls out to the sniper, who blinks for a minute, then shrugged and went off to do just that. Everyone was surprised by this as Luffy and Zoro came over to the others right away. Hey Naruto, what is going on? Zoro asked. Yeah, why do you have us stop in the middle of nowhere? Nami added as the blonde walked away. Later, Ginger got work to do. Naruto said, heading inside, leaving behind a pissed off Nami and Sanji, while Zoro was holding back a chuckle. Burn in hell, you fucking whiskers. Nami and Sanji bellowed, oh yes. Zoro was going to like having him on board this ship. A few minutes later, Naruto came out holding one of his black duffel bags, while placing his blade at the waist of his hip, not that any of them had seen him use it yet. Boy Naruto, the ship stops, but what are you going to do now? Usopp asks, jumping down on deck as Naruto sets his bag down. What you guys haven't guessed by now. Naruto grinds, flexing his claws. My job. Wait, you mean? Luffy gasps his eyes as Nami's eyes once again turn to berries, but he tries not to think about her at the moment as he opens his bag, pulling out his treasure hunting gear. Somewhere below us is the treasure of a pirates once called Dragon Jaw Ginjo. He died a little over 90 years ago. Naruto said, setting up a crane and getting the crew's full attention. There should be about 120 million waiting below us. Nearly everyone jaw dropped at his words, though he thought it was better to ignore how Nami's eyes shined in avarice. So I take it we're going after it, shitty whiskers. Sanji said, being the first to break out of his shock and lighting up a cigarette, though he was still a little mad about what happened before. Yeah, but this one might not be that easy to get. Naruto said, now more than ever glad he had joined a crew, as it would have been impossible to do by himself. Huh, why that? Usopp asked, watching their treasure hunter put together some metal air tube masks. He counted 6 of them. Now, let's get started. Naruto said, walking over to the center of the crew and pulling back out his black book. Okay, here how this is gonna work. Naruto started, all eyes on him as he opened up his book. From what my log says, the hunt site is in an underwater cavern below us. Naruto said as they listen in. However, to take this hunt on, we'll be needing 2 teams. He told them. Then Vivi spoke up. Why 2 teams? Vivi asks Naruto, who began scratching the back of his head as he thought of how to explain this. We'll see, the treasure has been split up into 2 sets, and the hunter before me had to use 2 teams to try and get it. Naruto replied, causing them to raise an eyebrow. Wait, so someone else went after this treasure before you? How come they didn't get it? Chopper asks, speaking for the first time as Naruto goes about flipping through his book again. It says here there are a lot of traps and powerful sea kings on the inside protecting the place. Naruto startled them. Hey, check it out, it seems 3 of his teammates died, 2 more were badly wounded, and he lost an arm, a leg, and an organ. Oh well, it's no big deal. Naruto said with a careless shrug. There was a harsh silence, as everyone just looked at him for a moment before one word exploded from their mouths. So anyway, we'll be splitting into 2 teams, and Naruto will try to continue. This got everyone riled up. Hey, hold on a minute. Usopp yells. Is it really okay to go to such a dangerous place? Vivi asks, getting a shiver down her spine just thinking about the danger they'd be facing. Of course. All we have to do is cut down anything and anyone that gets in our way. Zoro said, gripping his blades ready for any incoming fight. If we run into sea kings, that'll be good too, since we were running low on food again anyway. Sanji added, more than ready as well. Adventure. Adventure. I hope we'll have a great adventure in the mystery cave. Luffy shouted in excitement. Who cares about having fun? We finally get to earn some money like real pirates. Nami exclaimed, none of them noticing the tears falling down Usopp, Chopper and Vivi's face. Even Nami is pumped up for this. There is no stopping them now. The 3 thought in despair as Naruto spoke again. Okay, now everyone on the same page, we should start on picking who's gonna be on whose team. Naruto began. But before that, we should also pick someone to stay up here with Chopper. Naruto said, start leading Chopper. Why do I have to stay behind? Chopper yelled at the heavy point as Naruto's sigh rubbed his neck. Hate to point this out, but how do we get a reindeer into a cave underwater? This question chopped Chopper in place as he thought it over, and his head dropped, feeling a little down now knowing he couldn't go. If it makes you feel any better, I think you're the best one to look after the ship. Naruto added, hoping to cheer him up. Jackass, just because you say that I'm not going to be happy, Chopper yells back, obviously happy about the words as he starts to do his dirty old man dance, with a wiggling of his arms and leg. Naruto sweat drops with the rest of the crew before returning back to them. Okay, moving on. Another reason we're leaving behind Chopper and someone else is because if a marines pass by, we're going to want someone to be up here to look after the ship. Everyone nodded at that before drawing straws to see who would stay behind. Usopp, who was thankful, was picked to stay behind. After setting up the rest of Naruto gear, the 6 remaining members all stood next to the air tubes masks, Nami now wearing a green string bikini and Vivi wearing a purple one. Naruto was now just wearing a pair of orange swimming trunks, black fingerless gloves that ran halfway up his forearm on the left, that ran up to just below his shoulder, and the other ran up to halfway his forearm, while Zoro was wearing a pair of black one, Luffy had on red ones, and Sanji wear blue one, though for some reason he had a rope around his waist connected to Luffy's. Alright, now that everyone is ready, I'll get started. Naruto said, taking one of the metal air tube masks and about to explain how to use them, but Sanji, who had a tick mark on his face, put a hold on that. Hey shitty whiskers, you mind telling me why the hell am I hooked up to this moron? Sanji yells, causing Naruto to stare at him in a bored fashion. What about Iroh-cook, you want to look at Nami's panties? Wait until after this hunt is over to do that. A large tick mark appears on Sanji's head at that moment. Where the hell did that come from, you shitty fucking whiskers? Sanji screamed as Vivi stood in front of him trying to calm down the cook. Luffy and Zoro were laughing the asses off, while Nami had a dark aura over her as she began cracking her knuckles. Bam. Bam. As I was saying. Naruto continued, causing everyone to sweat drop as his and Sanji's head were face down into the ship's floor with smoke coming out of them. These masks are special, they're not only able to withstand pressure at 5,000 feet underwater without being crushed. Hey, can you at least get up to explain this? Zoro mutters, causing Naruto to jump to his feet. Is this guy all there in the head? Zoro thought it was okay to follow him. Right, anyway, like I said, these masks are able to withstand high pressure, and it has a special coating to keep sea kings away. It can also carry voices from one mask to another underwater, thanks to a voice box built in. This actually surprised them. Luffy moved to one of them. Wow. So can we really speak to one another in these? Luffy asked and Naruto nodded. Yep. Not only that but they are each about 1,000 feet long so they'll reach our target. Naruto stated. Nami was actually impressed by this. These are really dependable, Hanami commented as Naruto sighs. They'd better be, this should cost me 7 million for the whole set. Naruto replied before looking out the side of his eyes at them. Boy, if any of you break them you'd better be ready to pay me back in full. Naruto mutters before getting serious again. Anyway, the teams for this hunt will be Team 1. Luffy, Sanji, and Nami. Team 2. Will be me, Zoro, and Vivi. Naruto told them. Everyone nodded. Sanji hearing this jumped to his feet, finally waking up. Boy, by the way, why am I the one carrying Luffy? Sanji growled at him, frustrated at having to do that only to have Nami hit him in the back of the head. Quit complaining, Luffy can't swim and you're the fastest underwater so it can't be helped. Nami told him, wanting to get started as soon as possible. Hi. Nami Swan. Sanji yelled with hearts in his eyes, while Vivi laughed and shook her head. So Naruto-san, should we get moving now? Vivi asked and Naruto nodded. Yeah, everyone put on your masks, we are moving out. Naruto ordered as they went about placing on the black masks. After checking to make sure they had them on right and that airways were not blocked, Naruto turned to Usopp and Chopper. You guys make sure nothing blocks these openings or we won't be able to breathe. Got it, he told them, his voice coming out of the radio like Usopp and Chopper nodded. Roger. They yell, watching Luffy wrapping his arms around Sanji's shoulders as the cook jumps into the sea, followed by Nami, then Vivi, Zoro, and lastly Naruto. There they go. Usopp said while Chopper looked a little let down. Yeah, but I really wanted to go. He said, causing Usopp to pat him on the back. Don't worry, maybe next time. Usopp replied. Underwater. After gathering everyone to him, Naruto asked if there were any leaks or if the voice boxes wasn't working right. Seeing that everyone was okay to go, through Luffy complained about not being able to move and feeling really weak, he was ignored as they follow Naruto, who had brought out his book that was already open to a page with a map on it. The book itself had been placed in a see-through plastic bag to keep from getting wet, while in the other hand, he held his sword while around his shoulder was a med-sized duffel bag. Everyone be sure to keep an eye on our surroundings, no telling what may come our way. Naruto said, taking the lead with Vivi by his side. Sanji, Luffy, and Nami were in the middle, and Zoro brought up the rear. Got ya, but how long will it take for us to reach this cave? Zoro asks to keep watch of their back, with Luffy pretty much useless underwater, and Nami and Vivi being the weakest of their group. It was mainly up to him and Naruto to protect everyone since Sanji was carrying Luffy. If I'm reading this right, about half an hour. Naruto replied as they swam farther down. As they descended, the crew marveled at the underwater sights, seeing the many different types of fish floating past them. Then a thought came to mind for Nami. Hey Naruto, will we be able to handle the water pressure as we go down? Father Nami asks to bring up a very good point as everyone listens in. Relax, you see the underwater ridge over there, Naruto said, pointing to the mountain system ahead of him. Our goal lies in the valley known as a rift, running along its spine. Naruto told them, looking back down at his log. From what my log says, Dragon Jaw Ginjo built it in a cave near the spine. And how the hell did he do that? Zoro asked. Nami was really listening in now and wanted to take notes, but couldn't due to the fact that they were underwater at the moment, so she tried to memorize it. She was good at that. Well, to tell you that, let me explain a little about underwater ridges. Naruto replied, looking ahead of him once more to be sure they were going the right way. Okay, to start with, mid-ocean ridges are geologically active, with new magma constantly emerging onto the ocean floor and into the crust at and near rifts along the ridge axis. The crystallized magma forms a new crust of basalt, better known as morb, short for mid-ocean ridge basalt, and gabbro. Swimming off to the left, they headed down deeper near the ridge. The rocks making up the crust below the seafloor are youngest at the axis of the ridge and age, with increasing distance from that axis. New magma of basalt composition emerges at and near the axis because of decompression melting in the underlying Earth's mantle. Reaching the ridge, Naruto studies his log for a moment before pointing to where the spine should be and heading there with everyone following. The oceanic crust is also made up of rocks much younger than the Earth itself. Bet you didn't know that most of the oceanic crust in the ocean basins is less than 200 million years old. The crust is actually always in a constant state of renewal at the ocean ridges. Moving away from the mid-ocean ridge, the ocean depths progressively increase. Not only that, the greatest depths are in ocean trenches. As the oceanic crust moves away from the ridge axis, the peridotite in the underlying mantle cools and becomes more rigid. The crust and the relatively rigid peridotite below it also make up the oceanic lithosphere. Upon reaching the spine, Naruto went about tracing his map for a second before they began moving again, not seeing the shadows now following behind. by slowly spreading the ridges like the mid-Atlantic that the ridge generally have large wide rift valleys, sometimes as big as 10-20 kilometers 6.212 mi wide and very rugged terrain at the ridge crest that can have relief of up to 1,000 meters 3,300 feet. By contrast, fast-spreading ridges like the East Pacific Rise are narrow, sharp incisions surrounded by generally flat topography that slopes away from the ridge over many hundreds of miles. Knowing all of this, Dragon Jaw was able to "Hey, are you even listening to me?" Naruto yells, seeing Zoro chatting away with Luffy about some nonsense. "And you're supposed to be watching our back. What did you think was going to happen?" Shitty whiskers. "I mean, hell was any of that?" Even English Sanji mumble, causing a tick mark to appear on Naruto's forehead. "Don't mind them, I was listening, and I got to say I'm sure surprised you know so much about the sea." Nami said, her curiosity piqued at knowledge, surprising him there was something he talked to her about other than money. "Yeah, like I said, these morons should pay more attention when you're talking," Sanji said, giving a thumbs up to his fellow blonde, who wondered how he could manage to sweat drop underwater at the cook's antics. "Anyway, keep going." Nami told him. "Right, like I was saying, Dragon Jaw knew all this because he also studied the ocean geologically as well, and so made a hideout underwater, where he would be the most safe using the ocean itself as a stronghold." Stopping to look down at his map once again, Naruto gives his surroundings a quick look around to see they seem to match up to the map in his log, turning to the group he spoke to. "Okay, this is the place, so keep your eyes open for a cave opening, and Nami look out," Naruto yells, causing everyone to turn around and see a large lion shark right behind her. Nami cried, barely swimming out of the way in time from having her leg bitten off. "Damn it. We let our guard down," Zoro growled and rushed forward and cut the shark in two. At the moment a little over half a dozen others popped out of nowhere rushing at the pirates. "Fuck, everyone get ready." Naruto calls out as one of the lion shark rushes at him. Grabbing his sword by the sheath, Naruto smashes it into the gut of the shark, causing said shark to cough up blood. "Naruto. That is not how you use a sword," Zoro yelled as he had been wanting to see what kind of swordsmanship the treasure hunter used to see him using the blade like a goddamn bat. Cutting down two more sharks, something came to mind for him. Where the hell is Vivi and Nami? Zoro thought before blocking another one. Meanwhile, Nami was at the moment swimming for her life as two more lion sharks gave chase. "Shit. This is why I told Yusuf to hurry up in making my new weapon." Nami used her staff to block one of them from biting her, the other one went around to get at her butt. "Peacock snake," Vivi yelled, lashing out one of her strings wrapping around the shark that was running her Nami and pulling it up. "Damn, if this had been on the ground I could have done more damage. But this is fine too." Vivi thought of moving away from the oversized fish as blood sprayed out, causing the one attacking Nami to turn away and bite into the other one. "Nami, let's go," Vivi shouted as the two swam away from the fighting lion sharks. Meanwhile, Sanji had just kicked a shank out of his way while looking for Nami and Vivi. Luffy, on the other hand, was not happy at the moment. "This sucks, damn it. I can't fight at all," Luffy complained in his head before noticing something. "Hey Sanji, look," Luffy said, pointing to a cave opening much to Sanji's surprise. "Good job, shitty captain. Hey everyone, I think we found the cave," Sanji yells as Naruto and Zoro finish off the last lion shark. Everyone swims over to them, things have settled down, and Naruto pulls out his log to look at the map once more. "Yeah, this is it. Okay everyone, follow me," Naruto said, taking the lead after swimming for a good 10 minutes before they reach an opening at last. "Here we are," Naruto said, bursting out of the water. Everyone else soon followed as they got to dry land. Taking off his mask, Naruto did a quick head count to make sure everyone made it up. "Hey guys, I think it's safe to say this is the place," Naruto said after he was done counting and knew everyone was there. Taking off their masks, Vivi was the first to look up and saw the two giant pairs of metal doors with dragon markings on them. "This is the hideout of Dragon Jaw, Ginjo," Vivi whispers, walking up next to the treasure hunter as everyone follows. "Finally, I can move. There are two doorways," Luffy said in confusion as Naruto walked up to one and slowly opened it, making sure there were no traps on the other side. Seeing it was safe, Sanji did the same with the door on the right. "All clear over here," Sanji called out to Naruto, who nodded back. "Good, everyone remember what I said about the treasure being split up into two sets? Well, this is where we'll be going off on our own." Naruto told them to pull out a few sheets of paper and handed it to Nami. "Dear Nami, since you're the smartest one in your group, this should help you guys out some. I write down the grid coordinates you should follow, as well as what traps that were in my log, but keep in mind the hunter before me never made it to the end, so be on the lookout for more," Naruto states. Nami looks over everything and nods. "Thanks, for that I'll lower your entrance fee by 7%. Nami said half jokingly as Naruto just sighs but takes on a playful smile. "Whatever, do me a favor and die here so we can look for a less greedy navigator," Naruto mumbled as Zoro and Vivi walked next to him, while Luffy, Nami, and Sanji got together at the door on the other side. "Alright guys, is everyone ready for our first treasure hunt in the Grand Line?" Luffy shouted, getting pumped up. "Sure kid. Naruto said, simply crossing his arms with a smirk. If we're going to be real pirates, it's like Nami said, we need to have lots of treasure. Zoro added, gripping his swords matching Naruto's smirk. I have to admit I am getting pretty pumped up now. Vivi said with a grin while bouncing on her feet. Yeah, we can't be penniless pirates forever. Nami said with a smile. Well, I guess this is another step to becoming infamous in the Grand Line, eh? Sanji started lighting up a cigarette and getting ready to get moving. That's right. Now let's go. Luffy shouted as they stepped through the door to their next big adventure. Above the sea where the Straw Hats were ship-weighted, Usopp was sitting on the bed in his cabin, tinkering with his slingshot, making sure it was in good shape in case he was needed anytime soon, as Chopper leaned over the edge of the ship with what seemed like a sad look in his eyes. Hey Chopper, are you still moping around about not going? Usopp asked, hoping the little reindeer who just sighs while he kept looking out to see something clearly caught his attention. Nope, not really, just wondering what that flag means. Chopper said, pointing ahead of him, catching Usopp's attention, and got up to see what he was talking about, but the moment he left the cabin and saw what it was, Usopp dropped his screwdriver and his mouth hung open in shock. I wonder if that one of those cruiser ship Dr. Korea told me about. Chopper asked Usopp, but said the person could feel his breathing become labored and stiff. The reaction was only momentary though, as he quickly ran to and grabbed Chopper and shaking him. That a freaking pirate ship, you moron. Usopp yells, shocking Chopper. Hey. Really, Chopper yelled as just as he finished, a cannonball hit the water behind him, making a massive splash that soaked them to the funny bone. They just stood there and blinked for a moment looking at where the cannon had hit. They're firing on us, the two lone Straw Hats said at the same time, blinking as they stare at the other ship for a moment for finally screaming. They're firing on us. Chopper gets the cannons. Return fire. Usopp shouted as the reindeer ran away screaming to do just that. Underwater cave of Dragon Jaw Ginjo. Well, this is new. Sanji mutters as he, Luffy, and Nami slowly crawl under a storm of arrows flying right above their heads that had started firing as soon as they had entered the passageway. Remind me to take another 5% off of Naruto's entrance fee. Nami mumbled, glad he had given them a list of traps, thereby warning them ahead of time. Even if you say that, I still don't think he is going to pay for it. Luffy said, grinning much to Nami's dismay as Luffy stretches out his right arm out and reaches through to the other end, grabbing a beam pole. Hold on to me, guys. Luffy said as both grab an arm before Luffy lets go of the ground, pulling them to the other side, and some managed to stop them from crashing into the wall. Okay, so where is Nami next? Luffy asks, jumping to his feet as Nami and Sanji get up as well. Well, it seems we're supposed to go through this door, but on the inside the door we just came through is going to lock, and we'll have to get past the two large statues at the end. Nami was a bit confused by that, but Sanji just gave a careless shrug. It might mean there are some statues with a door behind them or something like that. Sanji said as he walked up to the steel door and opened it, and seemed to no longer be in a cave, but a long hallway with two statues of centaurs kneeling at the end and a door in the middle. Well, this seems simple enough, but let's be careful of any traps the list might not have. Nami said as they walked all the way inside, boom, a gate just slammed down behind them, startling the three pirates. Well, it did say the door was going to be locked behind us. Luffy said Nami and Sanji could tell from the shit-eating grin on his face that their captain was the time of his life at the moment. Baboom. 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 Huh. All three gasped, seeing the two centaur statues began moving as they slowly raised up to their feet and pulled the stone swords from their backs, holding them at the ready. I think we just found out what it meant by us having to get past these two. Sanji muttering, like two waking statues of centaurs was no big deal, but Nami on the other hand. Nami screamed and dropped the list in her hand as her mouth hung open in shock. Well, let's do this. Luffy shouted, pump up, as the centaurs charged at them with Luffy spinning his arm back. Gumu, no pistol. Naruto, Zoro, and Vivi. Look like they started on their end as well. Naruto mused at the rumble his team just heard as he, Zoro, and Vivi stood in front of two steel doors, while Naruto held what looked like a giant stone ball that was easily 3 times his size with only one hand. Still, this thing really surprised me, it just started rolling down here out of nowhere. Zoro said, drawing one of his swords and with 2 slashes, cut the boulder into 4 pieces, shocking Vivi. How can Nami-san stand working with these monsters? Vivi thought before another loud rumble was heard, making her start to worry. Hey Naruto-san, if things keep going like that, isn't there a chance we could cause a cave-in? Vivi asks as they continue onward, coming up to a steel door. Maybe. Guess we should hurry up to find the treasure rooms. Naruto replied by kicking the doors open, allowing them to walk in. On the other side of the doors, Naruto, Zoro, and Vivi found a long walkway with 2 riverbanks, one on each side of the walkway, that likely led out to sea. However, the walkway was so long that they couldn't see the end of it. Alright, let's keep our guard up here, now telling what traps might be waiting for us. Zoro said, fingering the hilt of his sword dangerously as Vivi gulped following him, but made her peacock strings ready as she followed him. Naruto had been about to do the same, but stopped when his foot stepped into something soft. Looking down, he noticed the ground where there should have only been hard rock. There was a muddle spot. Kneeling down, Naruto touched the mud patch and pulled up quite a bit of it. This is soil liquefaction, Naruto mutters, not happy about this turn of events. Even if it's this far along, it should take days or even weeks before this place goes under, but just to be on the safe side, I'd better keep an eye out for changes. Naruto thought about getting up and catching up to Zoro and Vivi. Yo, was something wrong? Zoro asks, noticing Naruto had stopped back there for some reason. The blonde just sighs. Nah, just keeping an eye out for troublesome things, nothing big. Naruto mumbled his reply as Vivi looked from side to side of the river banks. Well, I understand that this Dragon Jaw person built this place as his stronghold. I don't really see the need for these river banks. Vivi said to herself as they walked on, then suddenly a giant head popped up. It had long whiskers and huge teeth. What? Yelled Vivi with tears in her eyes as Naruto and Zoro jumped back. Shit. What's that? A fish? Zoro asked in surprise, but then jumped out of the way when it launched and bit a chunk of the walkway open. It can bite through stone, Naruto gasped, surprised by that as it rushes at him, turning his surprise expression to a smirk as he holds his arm back glowing with blue light and slams it into the Sea King's jaw and sends it flying into the cave wall. Well, eyes. Huh, Naruto gasped, seeing 7 more pop out of the river banks. There are too many of them to fight in this closed space. Run. Zoro yelled as the 3 raced down the walkway with the Sea Kings on their tails. Luffy, Sanji and Nami. What up with these statues? Luffy yells, launching a bazooka and smashing one of the statue's centaurs into pieces, only to watch it reform. No matter how many times we break them, they just keep putting themselves back together. Luffy exclaimed, landing in front of Nami, and Sanji jumped off the cave wall, feet touching the top of the cave as he was aiming at the other one. Haul your shoot. Sanji yells high into the air and lands a powerful kick to the centaur's neck, beheading it. Epal. Sanji adds, spinning around, and sent a downward kick, splitting the rest of the body in half before landing, only to look back and growl at it putting itself back together again. Naruto said that the treasure hunters before him that came here, 3 were killed, 2 were badly wounded, and the lead hunt damn near died. Right. I'm starting to understand why. Sanji mutters as both centaur statues begin slowly walking to them with their swords. If you guys can't destroy them, then how are we going to get past here? Nami said, gripping her staff, wondering how they were going to get out this one as Luffy stared at them. Naruto, huh? Luffy mumbled, looking at the statues they were facing. Flashback. This is boring, and I want to eat it already. Luffy exclaimed loudly, and not for the first time Naruto wanted to punch him as hard as he could, with a hockey-infused fist. You can eat after you finish this, now get back to work. Naruto growled, pointing at all the wooded pieces around them as Luffy frowned. This so dumb, we already got a ship, why do I need to learn how to build a dinghy anyway? Luffy flipped through the pages of the book he was reading on how to build small boats when Nami came out on deck. Hey Naruto, what's up with those bags of yours? I can get into them all. Nami stated, seemingly annoyed that she was unable to get at the barracks inside, Naruto's lip twitching upward a little. Bitch. Don't be so open about the fact that you're trying to rob me. Naruto yells as Nami stares at him for a moment. Forget it, I'll just use one of Zoro's swords. Nami said, turning to go back in. Stop it. I'll fucking kill you. Naruto shouted, getting pissed off until he noticed Luffy trying to edge away. And you. Stay right there. Naruto yells, feeling like this was a daycare rather than a pirate ship with a captain who wanted to be dead or alive. Luffy pouted to stay where he was, and Naruto felt he would have to kill Nami later. Look Luffy, if you want to eat so badly, then just finish up, or Naruto seethed for a moment when suddenly, a sinister idea came over him. On second thought, go ahead, you can eat, just not any meat. Naruto started getting to his feet and picking up the book on the floor. What? Why? Luffy yells, looking like the world had just ended. Sorry, but until you get this done I'm telling Sanji to feed you only the green stuff. Naruto replied about walking off, but at that moment his book on building small boats was snatched out of his hand faster than he could see. Huh? Naruto looked up at Luffy, and his eyes started to twitch as he watched wooden blocks fly together at high speed, while Luffy kept looking down at the book every few seconds before going back to work. Done. Luffy said out loudly, showing the perfectly made boat. Naruto's eyes were still twitching the whole time. What the hell is up with that retarded motivation? Naruto shouts time with his teeth like blades now. What? I did like you ask, oh well, time to eat now. Luffy is about to run off. What a damn minute. Naruto yells, stopping him in his tracks. Naruto takes that moment to calm down a little. Look Luffy, there was more to this than just building a boat, it called being prepared for emergency. Naruto told Luffy as he sat back down. Nana? What do you mean? Luffy asks only to be poked in the head by Naruto, who kept his finger in the middle of Luffy's forehead. Listen kid, you're strong as hell. There is no arguing that, but sometimes you need to use your head rather than your fist. Naruto started flicking Luffy in the head. But that too much trouble, besides just using my fists, has been working fine for me so far. Luffy counters and Naruto takes a second to wonder if Ikaria Beaches had gotten a headache from trying to teach him this stuff as well. I wonder about that, tell me, how useful were your fists when you were under attack back in Drum Kingdom and had to hold back because Nami was still sick and Sanji had gotten hurt? Naruto asked coldly and Luffy froze, his eyes widening as he swallowed hard, remembering how bad that had gone and only had gotten out of there by luck alone. Glad I finally have your full attention now. Look Luffy, you're like how I used to be, the kind of guy who goes head first into a fight and gets back into a corner when things don't work out. Naruto said looking dead at Luffy. It's even worse for you because you're the captain of this ship and have a crew to look after. Naruto went on while Luffy just kept quiet. That's why I'm having you do this like this, sure it might not seem like it worth it now, but trust me, knowing small stuff like building a boat or having some level of navigator skills will help you out a lot in the long run, even if you have people for it already. Like when Nami got sick and none of us really knew what to do before we got Chopper. Luffy asks and Naruto grinned. There you go. Now you're getting it, having at least some skills in your crewmate's art of expertise will go a long way. Naruto as Luffy looks down and his hat shadows his eyes. Hey Naruto, back in a place called Lowtown I ran into a guy called Smoker and had a small fight. Luffy began, but Naruto, having already known who that was, could guess how it went. Let me guess, you lost, right? All your attacks went right through him, correct? Naruto asked and Luffy nodded. Luffy, you're going to run into guys like that a lot in the Grand Line, where the normal way of attacking them doesn't work. Naruto said as Luffy looked up at him. Then how do I beat them? Luffy asks as Naruto sighs. For guys like us there's a way to win, but it's a pain in the ass. Are you willing to go through it? Hearing the question, Luffy nodded willingly to do whatever it took to protect his crew. Naruto looked at him seriously now. Good, now here's what you do. For me there are 5 simple steps that I use when I come across an enemy I can't hurt easily. Naruto begins. Flashback. Hey Sanji, stay with Nami for a moment, I'm going to try something. Luffy said, surprising them as he spread his leg out, putting hands on his knees and took a deep breath. Step 1. Calm down. I know you just want to punch the shit out of whatever is in your way, but that is clearly not working, so just calm down and take a good look at the one you're facing. Luffy, what are you going to do now? You know we can't beat them no matter how many times we break them. Nami calls out, but Luffy just looks at the statues of centaurs as one did a sword slash at him, but Luffy just jumps out of the way. Step 2. Analyze the one you're facing. When fighting someone that can't be hurt the normal way, you get to test out what works and what doesn't, understand why, while keeping out of reach. Gumu Gumu no Gatling gun. Luffy yells, firing off a rapid barrage of strong punches repeatedly in a blurry at one of the statue's centaurs from the air and smashing it to pieces. There it goes again. Luffy thought, watching it put itself back together. Every time we break them they just reform like it was nothing. Luffy thought as he was overshadowed by the second one. Without missing a beat, Luffy did several flips out of the sword slash way before stretching his leg. Gumu Gumu, no whip. Luffy yells, striking the statue in the back and cutting it in half, but he is done yet and raises his leg high into the air. Gumu Gumu no straight blade axe. Luffy yells, slamming the stretched out leg over the statue and crushing it to bits. However, before he could even take a moment to recover, Luffy was forced to quickly bring his leg back and dash out of the way of a giant stone hover. Really, how the hell are these guys doing that? Luffy exclaimed while Sanji and Nami looked on. What the hell is this? Luffy's not going all out and it's like he is looking for something. Sanji wondered to himself, knowing this was out of character for him. What the heck was that? Luffy asks himself as he thought he saw something flash the last time Luffy crushed one of the statues. Gumu Gumu no Gatling gun. Luffy yells once again, firing off a rapid barrage of strong punches and smashing the statue to pieces, keeping his eyes open this time as Luffy watches the bit and piece fly back together the time he sees it, a glowing red rock in the midst of the rest of the statues. Step 3. If you see something out of place, experiment a little to see the reaction of what happens. Gumu Gumu no Super Claw grabbed. Luffy shouted, shooting his arm out and snatching the stone out of the air before it became a part of the statue again. The next thing to happen shocked all of them as the statue fell apart right before their eyes, no longer moving at all. Luffy? What the hell did you just? Nami gasps as he lands right in front of them with a pout on his face. That's all it takes. I didn't even get to use steps 4 and 5. Luffy whines, confusing Nami and Sanji to what he was talking about. Boy Luffy, what are you going on abo huh? Sanji never finished as he saw Luffy flick the glowing stone to Nami, who caught it in surprise. Hey Sanji, I'm going to smash that other statue up. When I do there should be another one of those glowing rocks inside. I think it's what's making them move, so when you see it grab it before the statue fully forms again. Luffy said, and once again Nami and Sanji were shocked at how Luffy was acting. It was like he was using his head for once. Okay, got it. Sanji replied, knowing they needed to get past here first, but would ask about the sudden change later, when things had calmed down. Yosh. Let's do this. Luffy said loudly, spinning his arm behind him. Gumu Gumu, no pistol. Naruto, Zoro, and Vivi. Vivi, look out. Santoryu Onigiri. Zoro yells, cutting down another one of the catfish-like sea kings that had just tried to bite down on Vivi. Flipping through the air, Naruto landed on top of one of the sea king's heads. Come and get me, you moron. Naruto called out to the one next to him as it raced over and tried to bite down on Naruto, for said blonde to flip out of the way at the last moment, letting it bite down on its friend, causing a fight to break out between the two as Naruto landed back on ground level. That'll keep me busy for a while, let's move. Naruto ordered as the three ran away, but suddenly a chill ran down Naruto's and Zoro's backs. Hold on Vivi. Zoro called out, grabbing her just in time as a giant axe slammed down right in front of them. Hey, what now? Vivi watches multiple axes crash down in front of them on the remaining part of the path before going back up and coming down again repeatedly. What the hell? Naruto and Zoro yell roar before hearing a loud roar behind, only to see the Sea Kings once again giving chase. Well shit. The Straw Hat's ship. Chopper. Aim that cannon a little more to the left. Usopp yells to the little reindeer, who did as he was told and fires, hitting the left mass of the enemy ship, causing Usopp to cheer. But this, they can't reach us. Usopp shouted and enjoyed pa pa pa, only to have it die on the spot at seeing three large metal spearheads pierce through the side of the ship. Usopp cried, realizing there was rope tied at the end of the spearheads connected to wheel pullers on the other ship, which they used to yank the merry-go to them, nearly knocking Usopp and Chopper off their feet as the two ships slam into one another. This is bad. Chopper, get ready. Usopp yelled as the enemy pirates charged into the merry-go with their swords raised. Their form was sloppy at best. Their sword training no doubt consisted of waving them menacingly to intimidate people, until one of them tripped. What the hell are these metal things? The nameless pirate growled as Usopp looks on in horror at seeing they spotted the air tubes connected to the sea masks. Whatever it is, just break it. It's in the way. One of his friends said, startling Usopp and Chopper. No. If they do that, then Luffy and the others won't be able to come back up. Chopper went heavy, but before he could even try to stop them. Quack. A loud quacking sound rang out as everyone came to the cabin doorway to see Karoo standing there with a look of shock on his face as he sweat dropped at seeing all the unknown pirates on the ship. Karoo stops them. If they broke those air tubes, Vivi and the others will be in trouble. Usopp yells to him, causing Karoo to snap to attention as he rushes over to the air tube and headbutts them away. Turn to Usopp and Chopper. Karoo look both mad and confused with a hint of being scary thrown in the middle. Quack. 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 Karoo began quacking at them. What the hell has been happening while I was sleeping? Is what he said. Chopper said, translating to Usopp, who nodded back. Ah well, you see, we attack, and why the hell am I answering to a duck? And you were sleeping. How the hell did you sleep though, all those freaking explosions? Usopp shouted back, sharp teeth and all showing, but before they could go on, a large shadow jumped behind Karoo, scaring him as the giant duck ran behind Usopp. Hello there, mate named Captain Puppy. If you don't mind, we'll be taking this ship along with all the money here as well. Puppy told them he was an obese and round man with a very round face, bulbous nose, a row of rounded teeth, and gray hair sticking unkempt on the sides and on top of his head. His arms and legs are very thin in proportion to his wide frame, and his fingers are very thick and short. All this made Puppy resemble a pig wearing pirate captain clothing. Surround them. Puppy ordered, causing all his men to gather around Usopp, Chopper, and Karoo, who all gulp. Damn it, this is no time for us to be acting all scary. Usopp exclaimed, stealing him as he lowered his goggles ready to go. As all of this is going on, let's take a trip back to a Marine HQ in Lowtown, where we see the bodies of Marines lying on the cold hallway floor, either dead or dying in pools of blood, and a cloaked person standing in the middle holding one Marine by the neck. Damn you. If Captain Smoker had been here, he would have stopped you by now. The Marine said, though his voice was hoarse from the choking, as the person smiled at hearing the name, almost like hearing about the captain made me happy. So Smoker is a captain, not a. Even if I've lost all love for Marines, it is good to know he is doing well. I'll just bet Tashigi is still following him around like a lost puppy. Man, this really takes me back. The person's word, who was clearly a woman, hit the Marine hard. You know Captain Smoker and Tashigi-san? He gasps in shock. Yes, in fact you could say I used to be old friends with them, but that's beside the point. Lady replied, tightening her grip around his throat to the point he almost couldn't breathe at all. Now I'll ask once more, will you take me to the cell room where you keep your inmates? Lady asks, causing him to look up at her in hate as she lightens her hold just enough for him to speak. If I do, you will let me live, right? He questioned, getting a nodded as she thankfully let him go. The Marine really didn't want to help her, but it was clear if he said no, she would just kill him and keep looking on her own, so there was little point in trying to stop now that everyone beside him was dead. You have my word that as long as you don't try anything funny you will live to see tomorrow. She stated as he got up, rubbing his neck, and told her to follow him. Walking down the hallway, he tries his best to not look at him. Fallen comrades lie on the floor covered in their own blood. Were we really this helpless without Tashigi-san and the captain? Damn it all. Not for the first time, he had to suppress the urge to turn around and tear her apart, but he knew that would just ask for himself to get killed. No, the best thing he could do was wait until she was gone and tell the higher-ups what happened. Lucky there was a vice admiral called Stainless on his way here, so all he had to do was bear with for now and wait for a chance to get in contact with him. You'll find what you're looking for down here, the Marine said, opening a door that led to stairs going down below. Having him go first, the Marine headed on down, well, keeping quiet and trying to think of just who she may be after. As far as he knew, he had heard of anyone matching her look through with that cloak on her. Come be anyone. It takes a few minutes, but they finally reach the bottom, finding a steel door waiting for them. The prison cell is behind there. He stopped right in front of the cell and turned to her. Good, and where can I find those with a bounty passing into the millions? She asks, causing him to suppress growls. Just keep heading down the middle until you reach the end, you'll find another steel door. On the inside are the ones who have bounties of 1 million or more. We keep them in certain cells due to us having a low amount of kairoseki on hand, he replied, getting a smile out as she placed a left hand on his face. I can tell you really didn't want to do this, so you have my thanks, however. Without realizing what was happening, she pushed her hand farther on his cheek, sending him flying into the wall. I'll keep my promise to let you live, but I don't need you awake anymore, so just sleep for a while. She raises her leg up and kicks the door in. Walking inside, all the inmates were at their cell room bars looking at the newcomer who just came in. Hey, who the hell is that? Don't know just because of the cloak. Who cares? Hey, you're not with the Marine, right? Let us out here. Yeah, help a brother out, would ya? They just kept on demanding to be let out, but the lady paid them no mind as she reached the end of the room and came up to the second steel door, just like she had been told about. Ticking down like before, the lady saw the unlike room before it. The doors were made of pure metal, and not just bars, though her attention quickly went to what was at the end of the hallway, a large container filled with some form of pink liquid. Well, would you look at that, I don't even have to search for her, she exclaimed with a grin, heading for the tank and not caring for the inmate who yelled for them to be let out. Upon reaching the container, she threw her hood back and placed her hands on her hip, showing her full appearance. Her hair was baby blue and slicked back and would have shown her forehead if not for the fact she was wearing a pure back mask to cover everything from her forehead to her eyes, stopping just above her nose. Long striped leggings, evening gloves, tied in small shorts with a belt and boots. She seems to have no upper attire, revealing her bikini top uncovered. Beast Blue's only known Loja class fruit user, I've wanted to meet you, the lady said to the tanker, causing a few bubbles to appear before a woman's face from looking at her with a smirk. Oh, my, she drawled. I didn't think I would have a visitor so soon, wish I could tidy up a bit. The lady just smirks at the imprisoned Loja and crosses her arms under her upai. I do hope you bought some appetizing food, I haven't had anything good to eat in weeks. Sorry to disappoint you, I didn't bring any sweets. But I'm sure we can head to the cafe and find you some if you like. She narrowed her eyes at the masked woman, sensing slight sarcasm. Well then, is there a reason you're here? The liquid woman asked. Oh, I was just in town to do some visiting when I heard the Marine caught themselves a rather nice catch for East Blue, wanted dead or alive for 7,800,000 Honey, queen of the Trump siblings. Honey's smirk turned into a full-blown grin at this point. My captain could make great use out of you, the lady added as she stared dead at her. Is this an offer to join a new crew? Honey asks as the lady leans her head back and her smirk darkens. Yes, well, if you don't want to, I'm sure you'll have fun going wherever Vice Admiral Stainless takes you, who is heading here as we speak, she answered before punching a hole into the large container, letting the pink liquid spill out like water. Thank you, and if it's all the same, I'll be taking you up on your offer, Honey said as her jelly substances like body started to take the form of a human until there was an attractive, tall, slender woman with wavy blonde hair, which she tied into 2 pigtail buns, standing where the liquid. But I still have yet to hear your name, Honey stated as the unknown lady gave her the cloak she had been wearing to cover Honey Queen nude body. How rude of me, you may call me Mira. Marine HQ in Lode Town. Mira, odd name you got there. Any reason why? Honey asked, wrapping the cloak around her shoulders. The only answer she got was a smile before Mira turned around. We should get a move on. Mira started walking away with Honey behind her, however at the moment Honey saw her blue hair something caught her eye. There's no telling when Vice Admiral Stainless will get here, and even together I'm not all the sure we can beat him, so let head to the Mira's words stop at feeling Honey's hand on her hair as she moved it out of the way to see a large scar on the left side of her back. That rather nasty looking scratch, looks like it had been pretty deep too. Over your left lung even, how on earth did you survive it? Honey Ash, having already noticed the gunshot wound earlier on her left upai, but hadn't know it left such a mark on her. She would later admit that she found Mira to be more than a bit creepy, but when she turned around and Honey saw that grin on her face, it really unnerved her to say the very least. You could say I didn't, now let's go. Mira replied, walking ahead as Honey stayed where she was for a moment, not sure what just happened. A chill had just run a circuit on her spine, and for a few seconds there, every warning bell in her body went off telling her to get the hell away from this woman. Okay, note to self, avoid talking about that scar. Honey mumble caught up to her. It wasn't long before they left the prison room and headed back up top before Mira began opening up every door she saw, as if looking for something before stopping at one. This will do. Mira started walking inside a room with Honey. The room itself looked to be one of the barracks rooms, but what Mira had stopped in front of was a mirror. I know there is a joke I can use somewhere in here. Honey said in a sarcastic manner before Mira grabbed her by the hand and walked up to the mirror and placing a hand on it and pushing into it. Honey's eyes widen as a strange liquid slithers out of the mirror that was shiny and gold in its appearance, began to crawl its way onto Mira and before long covered both of them in the substances, then returned back to the mirror with neither woman to be seen. Location unknown. In a room on board a ship out at sea, the mirror over a desk suddenly began spilling out a liquid-like substance before returning to normal, leaving Mira and Honey in the room. Well, that was new. You wouldn't have happened to have eaten a devil fruit too, eh? Honey asks as she follows her out the room to the deck arena. Nope, you could say a man I killed gave me these powers. Mira stated, and Honey just smirks, not really caring that this lady just owns up to murder. As they reach the front of the deck, seeing many people dress up in a cross-section of mystics and religious tribal shamans and Indian fakirs. There was also a humanoid cat there as well. It didn't take long for them to notice the two ladies. There you are, Mira. One of the men with 3 long ponytails holding a board sword growling and looked pissed off. You take too long, damn it. And who's this bitch? Some friend you brought for sightseeing? He sneered as the humanoid cat person walked up to him. Hey, calm down, do keep in mind that our first mate you're talking to like that. The cat person told him, but that just seemed to piss him off even more. So what? What type of first mate goes off whenever she pleases and doesn't back at the time she said she would? I mean, we've been waiting 2 weeks for nothing. When she said she'd only be gone for 3 days, he exclaimed. Well, Mira just looked at him amused. Enough, a voice said calmly, causing everyone to turn to see a man sitting on a large crate looking at cards, attached to many slim branches, each housing a card. I'm sure Mira has a good reason as to why she took so long and who the young lady she brought with her is. The man stated. He was a tall guy with black triangle symbols on his eyebrows, red eyes, and golden hair that reaches down to his hips. He also has a black cross tattooed at the base of his throat at the front of his neck. His attire includes a pure white coat with a ruffled neckline and sleeves. He also wears purple trousers tucked inside black boots with white laces on them and a dark ornament made of fur circling the lower part of his torso with a lighter shade in the middle of it. He also has a pink sash tied around his waist with a piece of jewelry hanging from it. Sorry, I really don't, I pretty much just lost track of time. Mira laughs sheepishly, rubbing the back of her head as the man looks at her for a moment before sighing tiredly. I should have known. And the women? The man asked, but it was clear he really didn't care one way or another. Right, this my dear captain is Honey, queen of the Trump siblings, who has a bounty of 7,800,000. Mira replied, catching his attention as he looked up from his cards to the fellow blonde as the rest of the crew looked on in shock. I thought she could join our crew to make up for me taking so long. Mira told him with a smile, but the man from before had had enough. You think you can just take off for 2 weeks to visit your home sea and bringing this bimbo back will make it all okay? He yelled, and by this time Honey, who had kept quiet until now, spoke up. Would just shut up already. I'm new and it's already clear to me you're just a lolly pawn with no real say in anything. Honey snickered under her breath, yet just loud enough for him to hear her, earning a dangerous glare from man. Why, you little bitch. He roared, racing at her in anger and slashed his sword at Honey before anyone could stop him, but rather than cutting her down the middle, Honey stood where she was as they all gasped at her still standing, even though she had been split in two as pink liquid and not blood dripped out of her so-called wound. Aloja Taipei. The captain said with a raised eye as Honey reform and Mira smirk at the shocked look on Honey's attacker's face before Honey raised her arm and Toro locked. Honey yelled, throwing her arm at the man and grabbing him in a ball of pink liquid and taking joy in the fact that he couldn't breathe as everyone watched him slowly suffocated to death until a sword slash hit it, somehow breaking the Toro lock, setting the man free and surprising Honey at how easy he broke it. Let's stop there, you've made your point. The long blonde-haired captain said, getting up, and after putting away his blade, he walked over to Mira and Honey. Well, what do you think, Captain Hawkins? Mira asked with a smirk, already knowing the answer as he came to his fellow blonde and placed a hand softly on her cheek. She'll do just fine, Honey Queen was on special recommendation from my first mate, welcome to my Hawkins pirates. At his words Honey smiled lasciviously at the man. Back with the Straw Hat ship. Heavy gong. Chopper yells, cross-arming 3 pirates before ducking under a sword slash and turning around to punch the one that just tries to cut him in half in the face. Lead star. Fire star. Lead star. Fire star. Usopp rubber band lead star. Fire star. Lead star. Fire star. Usopp screamed to Karoo back as they ran around the invading pirates, firing attack after attack and hitting with deadly accuracy as the pirates fell one after another from each shot. Uppy looked on at the scene, his men were being taken out by just 3 people, well 2 really, which made this even more embarrassing. That's enough of that, time to take these punks out myself. Puppy mutters, rushing up to Chopper from behind but also catching Usopp's attention. Chopper, watch behind you. Yells, startling the human-like reindeer as he turns to see the charging captain with a large axe in hand. What? Chopper cried, jumping out of the way just in time as the captain barely missed his slash. That scares me. Are you trying to kill me? Chopper shouted at the fat captain. That's the idea, mate, tonight I'll be eating devil fruit deer chops for dinner. Puppy replied as he hefted his axe from the sheath over his shoulder and ran his finger across the blade. Naturally, this hit a nerve with Chopper. Asshole, I'm a reindeer. And you ain't eating me, you fat ass pig. Chopper fires back, ready to send him flying. Good, Chopper a monster so he can deal with the captain, and I'll just take out the rest with Karoo. Usopp thought of readying his weapon. Alright Karoo, let's end this. Usopp ordered, going into badass mode as Karoo gave out a loud war cry before rushing off, and Usopp for some reason fell off his back. Karoo, wait, I fell off. Usopp yelled, causing Karoo to stop and turn to him, but for some reason seeing Usopp's face scared the giant duck and he went back to running away. Hey, get the hell back here. Usopp screams as the enemy pirates chase after the 2. Puppy on the other hand looks at the scene, sweat dropping. How am I losing again? Luffy, Sanji and Nami. Hey Nami, here come a few more, catch. Luffy yells with a grin as he throws 3 more red stones to Nami in midair, who blink in surprise. Okay, I got him. Nami yells back, catching the stones thrown her way. Hearing a loud wheezing sound rushing her, she jumps back just as a giant stone arrow hits the ground where she was just at. Looking up, Nami frowned at seeing over a dozen giant Indian stone archers. Right after they managed to get past the last room into this one, the 3 were quickly attacked by more stone statues, this time in the form of Indian archers. Nami, duck. Sanji's voice rings out as Nami drops to the ground, nearing getting an arrow into her back, seeing how close to death Nami was. Sanji always gets pissed off. From up top the wall, Sanji bounced off and slammed his foot into the back of the statue, smashing it to pieces before landing in front of Nami. He managed to grab the red out of the pal pebbles. Hi Nami-san. Here are a few more. Sanji yelled with hearts in his eyes as he handed Nami 5 more stones, causing her to swear, drop, what am I now, a rock collator? Nami thought in dismay, adding the rock to the ever-growing amount in her bed. Still, this is taking too long, can't you guys speed this up? Nami exclaimed. Looking around, Sanji did a quick count and found that there were about 13 left from the 25 they started out with. It is not that easy for Nami-san, there are just too many of them for us to take out all at once. Sanji stated. At that moment 2 rubber arms shot to him from behind them and one wrapped around each of the waist and pulled the screaming pair back to the entice of the room. Luffy, what the hell are you doing? Sanji yells as he and Nami are brought over to their grinning captain. Come on, you guys were in the way. Luffy said, ignoring his question as he set them down behind him. The statues immediately turned their attention to the 3 that were now back in a corner. Damn it, now they're all aiming at us at once. Sanji growls, wondering why Luffy put their target in one spot to hit when Luffy began sucking in a lot of air. Gumu Gumu no Fusen. Luffy yells, inflating himself rapidly, then twists his body around tightly before blowing the air out behind them while untwisting to fly in forward while spinning towards the enemies. Gumu Gumu no Storm. Nami and Sanji could only watch in awe as Luffy unleashed a constant barrage of powerful punches just like his Gatling, but because its power was greatly enhanced by the momentum of his launch and were enough to smash right through all of the remaining Indian archers. When the hell did he learn to do that? Nami yells as she and Sanji watch Luffy keep it up even after all of them were nothing more than dust. I think you beat them already, Luffy. Sanji mumbled. It was a few more seconds before Luffy finally stopped his attack and raced back to them. I know, but I want to get all of these before they put themselves back together again. Luffy said, holding 2 handfuls of red rocks in his hands, much to Nami and Sanji's shock. Luffy quickly gave them to Nami before blowing his own hands that were bright red. Shit, hitting those things over and over like that really hurts. Luffy cried before a grin returned to his face. Oh well. This cave is really fun. I wonder what else we'll run into. Luffy cackling with a big smile before running off and leaving a stupefied Nami and Sanji in their place. Sigh, he turned into more of a monster. They said with a dark cloud over their heads. They both ran off to catch up. Naruto, Zoro, and Vivi. Finally. What a pain in the ass. Naruto growls as he and Zoro stood up to a pile of dead sea kings, panting from being tired out. There's no way either of you are human. Vivi cried, believing she now had irrefutable proof that she had monsters acting as her bodyguards. Well, if you put it like that, Zoro said, looking bashful and trying not to smile. Stop it, you'll make us blush. Naruto added, grinning and a little red in the face as Vivi's sweat dropped at the two. That wasn't a compliment. And are normal people really happy when they are told they aren't human? Vivi shouted as they jumped off the pile of beaten sea kings before looking up at the ceiling at multiple axes crushed down in front of them and sighing. Now how do we get past this? Zoro mumbled with a frown as the 3 stare up at the top where axes were coming down from. I could just jump up there and knock down that structure, but then we run the risk of bringing the cave down on our heads. Naruto started with his arms crossed and his head tilted to the side. We could probably survive something like that. Zoro looked, crossing his arms and tilting his head to the side like Naruto. That's true, but we'd have a hard time getting out of here. Naruto stated. We could still blast our way out of here. Zoro replied. That's true, but I wonder if the others will be alright. Bet they'll be pretty mad. Naruto stated. It's alright, as long as they survive it, alright. Zoro replied. That true, but. Could you 2 monsters please stop talking like there aren't normal humans in this crew? Vivi asks for sweat drops and wishes they acted a bit more like they couldn't be killed. But can't normal humans survive in something like a cave? Naruto and Zoro ask, looking like they were truly confused. No, they can't. Vivi screams with tears falling down her face. Luffy, Sanji and Nami. There is nothing here. Luffy commented with a down expression, only seeing a large hall in front of them as Sanji walked next to Nami. Hey Nami, is there anything in the files on this room? He asked as Nami went through the paperwork Naruto handed her, but came up with a frown. No, I guess that room was as far as they got, but I don't think we have much farther to go. Nami said. Looking around, she saw that the hallway was indeed long and wide. There were also torches on each side of the hallway. All in all, this no longer looks like a cave anymore. We don't know anything about this room, so let's take it slow and keep our eyes open. Nami told them as they begin at a slow pace while looking from side to side for anything that might attack them. Naruto, Zoro, and Vivi. Jumping into the air and slicing off the last drop-down axe, Zoro landed back on the ground and sheathed his swords with a sigh. There we're at the end. Zoro said as Vivi walked up to him quietly. No matter how many times I see their power, it still surprises me. Vivi thought, however, it was at this point she noticed that Naruto was still away behind them. Naruto-san, is something wrong? Vivi asks, and Zoro turns around to see him looking at one of the sticks of the broken axes with a worried yet curious expression on his face. What do you find? Zoro spoke as the blonde of their team walked up to him, still holding the so-called branch. Yeah, this isn't water metal, it is staghorn coral, or simply called stony coral. Naruto told them, leading to a raised eye from Zoro and a blank look from Vivi. I know what coral is, but staghorn coral. Vivi said, placing a hand under her chin in thought, waiting for him to explain. It is coral that grows rapidly and is very abundant in the reefs near East Blue Land. On my homeland it grew near the western coast. Naruto begins. It's not so surprising there, strong enough to be used as a beam because everything seems to be stronger in the Grand Line, but Naruto pauses, looking down at the coral. But what? Zoro asks, not liking the look on his face. Well, the bleaching may have started, however I don't think it should be taking this long for these things to die. Naruto replied. Zoro and Vivi both looked at him in confusion this time. Seeing this, Naruto went on to explain. Bleaching is the loss of intracellular endosymbionts, which is symbiodinium, also known as xanthally, through either expulsion or loss of algal pigmentation. Naruto started only to get blank looks and sweat drops from his 2 teammates, and for the first time he wished Nami was here. Look, symbiodinium is what coral need to receive inorganic nutrients. The fact that they're all cut down means they can't get that and should have rotted away already. You two understand that, right? Naruto asks, receiving nods. Then Vivi speaks. Okay, but what's that got to do with anything? Vivi asked. Yeah, so they lasted a little longer than normal. What the problem? Zoro as Naruto held the coral in both hands and snapped it in half. The problem is when they start bleaching these things die in anywhere between 4 to 6 months later. In the grand line I can see them lasting a few years longer, but Naruto stops for a moment to look at the inside of the coral. Dragon Jaw Ginjo was said to have died over 90 years ago, so why is there coral that hasn't been cut but a few months ago in a cave that was made over 90 years ago? Naruto asks, and both eyes widen at seeing what he was getting at. I get it. These traps should have fallen apart a long time ago from the coral rotting away. Vivi exclaimed as Zoro growled. Someone's been fixing this place up for the last 90 years, Zoro said in an irate tone, as Naruto threw the broken coral to the side. More or less, we should keep our guard up since this means there's a very high chance we're not alone. Naruto mutters and reaches Vivi and Zoro. The three then finally stand in front of the double doors, and using his right hand, he places his index finger and the right and his middle finger on the left, then with a flick the door flies open banging on the wall. Alright, let go. Zoro said, and Naruto taking the lead while Vivi took up the rear in case anything attacked from the front, and not a second they stepped out, Gumu Gumu no pistol. Kotelet. Spinning around, Naruto quickly uses his left knee to block hard kicks to the ribs, and Wado Zoro uses the backside of the blade to block Luffy's punch, which had been aimed at his head. It's Dumbus. And that fucking hurt. Naruto growls using his leg to push Sanji away as Luffy lands on the ground, his shit-eating grin still pasted on his face. Sorry about that, but it looks like everyone's here. Luffy grinned as Nami sighs walking up to them. Sorry guys, but we thought you were some more of those stone statues that kept attacking us in the last 2 rooms we came from. Nami told them, stone statues attacked them. Naruto and Zoro thought about what they went through. Okay. I'm just glad everyone made it safe and sound. Vivi said behind Naruto and Zoro, and Sanji imminently gained hearts in his eye. Vivi-san, I'm so glad you managed to still be safe with these 2 morons on your team. I promise never to leave you alone again. Sanji sang while doing his weird dancing around Vivi, who was a sweat drop at the cruise chef and getting tick marks on Zoro and Naruto's face. Dust die already, you hero cook, Naruto said in a boring tone only for Sanji to appear right next to him. What was that, you fucking whiskers? Sanji was then knocked down when Nami whacked him in the head with her staff. Enough. If we all mad up like this, then that means we must be nearing the end. Nami spoke and brought their attention back to the matter at hand. Alright. Well, hopefully that is the last door room. Naruto said looking ahead of them. There at the end of the room was 2 large double doors about 14 feet high, and on each side of it was a silver dragon statue. I wonder if they are going to attack us next. Luffy asks almost in a hopeful tone as Nami tensely feels that it was indeed a possibility. I doubt it, they would have done so already if they were going to. Sanji tried to light up a cigarette but couldn't due to them all being wet. Oh. Boring. Luffy exclaimed, disappointed. Not sure what you're talking about, but we should be careful because there might be someone waiting for us on the other side. Vivi started causing Luffy, Nami, and Sanji's heads to snap to her. Huh? What the heck are you talking about? Nami gasps in shock, but Zoro was the one to answer. The room we just came out of had a shitload of traps, and from what Naruto saw they were recently fixed, meaning someone was down here working on them. Zoro started getting a groan out of Nami. Of course there is, why does this kind of stuff always happen to us? Nami mumbled bitterly, she may have gotten used to things like this happening, but clearly still didn't like it. Well, we're already here, so let's get going. Luffy said happily, running up to the door and kicking it open, however on the inside it wasn't what they were looking for. What the hell is this? Sanji muttered, a what the fuck expression on his face, which was mirrored by Naruto, Luffy, and Zoro. Slowly walking in, they saw boxes of crates with random tools lying around. There was also bone of fish and sea kings here and there as well. All in all, it really didn't look like a place to hold treasure at. Oh, ho, ho, ho. Looks like some strong ones finally came here. A voice called out, causing everyone to look ahead of them and see a short and stumpy man who was more than a foot shorter than each of the Straw Hat members, with long pewter hair on the sides of his head but is totally bald on top. He has extremely long pointy ears, narrow eyes and an upturned nose, a sloping wrinkled forehead, pronounced cheekbones high up on his face with an extremely large cleft chin. His yellow eyes turned to them from the cup of fish he was eating with a creepy glow. All he was wearing was a blue shirt and black shorts. I welcome you to my cave, he said in a low tone, causing Zoro, Nami, Sanji, and Vivi hair to stand right up. But Naruto and Luffy. What the hell is that? Some kind of mole man, he looks so fucking retarded. Naruto suddenly yells as he bursts out laughing. The other kind of just sweat dropped at their crewmate as he kept laughing. However, to everyone's surprise, the short man just chuckled as well. Well, I guess such a thing can't be helped, after all I've done research and experiments on my body so much that I ended up in this awful state. He replied, getting a look out of Nami, research and experiments. So what is he, a scientist or something? Nami thought as Luffy spoke up for the first time. Awful? No way. I think you look cool. Hey, want to join my stop you fool? Zoro and Sanji yell, kicking him in the head much to the others' relief. Well, whatever, as you can see we have some really strong guys here, so you'd better tell where the treasure is, or we'll get rough. Nami said, taking command, but Naruto then stood in front of her. Nami, Vivi, you two had best get back for a moment. Naruto grinned, holding his sword much to her confusion as Zoro, Sanji, and even Luffy, who had gotten to his back feet, step up next to him. Whoa. Hey, wait a minute, there is no need to get violent, he is just an old man. Vivi yelled as to her it didn't feel right to attack someone so weak looking. And how did you manage to survive in Baroque works for as long as you did? Zoro mutters, getting a winch out of Vivi and a growl out of Sanji. What the Marimo means is look at his eyes, this man's eyes are those of a bloodthirsty murderer. Sanji told her, causing Vivi and Nami to jump a bit in shock. Now that you mention it, it does feel like this guy's been itching to kill us ever since we saw him. Luffy grinned, this guy noticed that but still asked him to join our crew. Nami, Sanji, and Vivi thought of sweat dropping. My, you people are good, now as for my treasure it is all over there. He said, pointing to his left. Following his hand, Nami's eyes lit up at seeing 3 large treasure cases. Wow. Thank you, you really are a nice guy. Luffy said, turning to walk over there, but Naruto had grabbed him by the ear, causing the pirate captain to cry out in pain. Wait. How are those yours? Shouldn't this cave and everything in it belong to a long since dead pirate by the name of Dragon Jaw Ginjo? Naruto asks, and the atmosphere seems to tense as the old grey man grin takes on a darker tone, and Vivi and Nami gulp, there right is something not right with this guy. Nami thought. So there are people who still remember that old name of mine. How flattering. He replied, causing Zoro to raise an eyebrow. Dear Ginjo. Sorry, but I find it hard to believe you were a pirate captain at any point in your life. Zoro stated, only to get a smirk in return. Well, I suppose that can't be helped either, but let me ask you this. Do you know why I was called Dragon Jaw? He surprised them by taking his shirt, showing a lot of what some would call puppy fat. This is why. The last part was yelled out as the straw hat stare in shock of his face expanding. His ears grow sharp to near elf-like ears. His arms grow long and thin, tipped with large hands with long fingers. His legs take on a more animal-like structure, but were just as thin. As for his head, now that where things got bad, his head grew and grew until it was 4 times bigger than before, being much larger than his now insects-like skeleton body, and his jawline got huge, causing his mouth to fall open and show a row of sharp teeth. His body had taken an emaciated, almost skeletal-like appearance. His bones can be seen through his gray skin. His decaying, starved appearance was offset by the overgrown head that was 5 times their size, and his long stick-like arms and leg pushing him about 7 feet off the ground. The hell, Naruto's eyes and others widened in shock at the sight before them. His true form looked disgusting, and all the Straw Hats thought so. You still doubt my claim, eh? If so, then let me put them to rest. Ginjo yells, opening his mouth widens, then to their surprise, leaps at them with impossible speed and nearly eats them all in one bite, but everyone manages to jump out of the way in time. Naruto? I thought you said this guy was dead. Zoro shouted to carry Nami on his shoulder with Naruto next to him. On the other hand, Luffy grabbed Vivi and threw her on his back as he and Sanji jumped to the other side of the room. Yeah, I thought he was dead too, but seemed that bit of info I had was wrong. Naruto replied before he and Zoro were forced to dodge once again as Ginjo used his thin leg to rush at them, and to their shock, his teeth bite into the ground, only to pull out a large chunk of said ground. What the fuck? Is he some kind of devil fruit user? Nami cried as Ginjo turned to them. Not at all, this is simply the power of one who has great control of Seimei Kaiken. Ginjo stated, not seeing Luffy appear over him. Gumu Gumu no stamp. He called, kicking Ginjo in the back and slamming his skeletal-like body into the ground, only to watch in horror as he craned his neck 180-degree around and to add even more shock, said neck actually stretched it as giving Luffy only enough time to throw Vivi to send his, as the upper part of his body was eaten. Luffy? Vivi cried. Naruto, acting fast, clasped his hands together, leap into the air and hammed Ginjo in the head, causing him to growl out in pain, thereby releasing Luffy, who gasped for air. This guy's breath really smells bad. Luffy exclaimed, landing next to Nami as Naruto did a flip in the air and landed right by him. Zoro, not one to be left out, quickly made it to their side. What the hell is up with his body and that biting power? Even Arlong wasn't this bad. Nami yelps and gets off Zoro's back. That is one of the powers of Seimei Kaiken. It gives one an abnormal amount of control over their bodies and lets them morph it in ways that help them in battle. In this case, he uses it on his jaw. Naruto told them, rubbing his chin and causing Zoro and Vivi to look at him with blank expressions. Is there anything you don't know, you human dictionary? Zoro mutters about getting a tick mark on Naruto's head. I only know about it because my mother uses a similar ability called biofeedback. Naruto stated, Ginjo hearing this grinned though one couldn't really tell how his head. Oh. So you know that much. Then let me show you a new way I've devised using the Seimei Kaiken. Ginjo roared, raising his left hand, and 2 dots of light appeared on his index and middle finger, and fired them at the door they just came in from. What did he just do? Zoro asked, getting the feeling that things were about to get worse. Baboom. The loud sound of stomping reaches them, shaking the cavern and sending chills down Luffy, Nami, and Sanji's backs. Hey, please tell me that not. Nami began with tears running down her face. Sorry Nami-chan, but there were statues right outside the door. Sanji said baboom. Hearing a loud banging outside that, he really wish he had smashed them up when he had the chance. Naruto, Vivi, and Zoro all look confused as to what the three are talking about. Oh boy, here again. Luffy cheered loudly and boom. A crashing sound broke into the air as the doorway they just came from burst into. Turn around. Sanji and Nami groan at seeing the dragon statues come crashing into the room. Naruto, Vivi, and Zoro look as though they were about to pop out of their head. Yep, here we go again. Nami and Sanji moan. Rumble. Arm point. Chopper growls, biting down on an orange jawbreaker looking ball, causing his body to morph. His biceps, triceps, and shoulders become extremely muscular in a human-esque form, and he retains his hooves. Captain Puppy looked pretty surprised by this. You're in an odd zone type, never seen one that had more than 3 forms. Puppy reading his sword and axe as Chopper put his hooves together on the right side of his body. Thanks, now take this Kakutare as AO. Chopper yelled, launching himself at the other pirate. Puppy tried to use his sword and axe as a shield, but the punch had such a forceful blow behind it that his hoof smashed them into pieces, hitting the man in the gut and leaving an imprint in his victim that looks like a sakura petal before sending the puppy flying across the ship and into the sea. Take pant that. Chopper exclaimed, trying to catch his breath, but was glad it was over. Gah. Usopp. However, he just then realized Usopp still needed his help and turned around to help, only to sweat drop at what he saw. Pile and pile of enemy pirates lying on the ground, beaten to a pulp or smoking. And standing in the middle of it all was Usopp and Karoo, who had somehow gotten back on. Karoo breathing so hard they look like they might have a heart attack. Who else wants some? Usopp shouted, shaking with his slingshot at the ready. Wow. He beat them all by himself. Chopper thought with stars in his eyes. Great job, Usopp. We won. Chopper cheered, causing Usopp to look at him, then around them to see that it was indeed over, and he managed to shakily smile. Of course we won. I'm the great Captain. Usopp pages after saying that he passed out, falling off of Karoo, shocking both of them. Boy, Usopp, what happened? Hey Usopp. Straw Hats vs Dragon Jaw Ginjo. Whoa. Naruto gasps, dashing backwards out of the way as the stone dragon bit down at the place he was just at while holding Nami on his right shoulder. This guy has some funky powers. Naruto grinned, doing several backdashes to put some space between them. Zoro, seeing an opening, jump above the dragon, attacking Naruto and Nami with his swords at the ready. Santori Onichiri. And slicing it to pieces, but to his dismay, it quickly began putting itself back together. Annoying is more like it, no matter how many times we beat these things they keep reforming. Zoro grunted as Sanji and landed behind him. If you want to keep that from happening, then go after the red stone that is inside their body. Sanji mutters, then races off at Ginjo, who was being held in place by Luffy, who made his fingers into a net. Apple shoot. Sanji yells, jumping into the air, then brings his heel down on the Ginjo shoulder, crushing him into the ground. Thanks Sanji, Gumu Gumu pistol. Luffy yells, his fist slamming into Ginjo's face, sending him flying into the stone wall, causing the whole cave to shake from the attack. This is bad, if we keep this up, we'll end up bringing this place down on our heads. Sanji thought in dismay until the sound of a snick behind him made him crouch slightly into a battle stand, only for his face to turn into confusion. Hey Zoro, what the hell are you doing just standing around? Sanji yelled, but then a loud crash caught his attention. Looking at what Zoro was staring at, Sanji's eyes widened at seeing Naruto in midair, dodging the 2 stone dragon move to eat him and Nami. It's weird, but ever since this fight started they've been going after Naruto contentiously. Zoro stated as Luffy landed next to them. Really? Because I could have sworn they had attacked Nami first, then when Naruto saved her they started attacking him. Luffy said, grinning like the whole thing was funny. Zoro and Sanji quickly snapped their heads to him as Luffy pointed ahead of him. In fact, if you look closer, aren't all their attacks are aimed at Naruto's right, which is the shoulder Nami is on. Luffy pointed out. Naruto for his part had just punched one of the statues in the head, smashing it to bite, but then had to lean to the left as the second one attacked again. Those things are after Nami. Sanji growled, about to launch, but all 3 had to dodge out of the way when Ginjo's head came crashing into the ground. Naruto saw this as he landed. So you found out, eh? Ginjo said, pulling his face and giving a nasty grin to Nami that had her skin crawling. Why the hell is he after me? Nami cried, holding on to Naruto for dear life. Because you girls have taken something that belongs to me. Here are Naruto and Zoro then looked at her with a deadpan expression, causing her to get angry at the two. What with that, what did you steal now? Look. I haven't taken jack shit from him yet. Nami shouted at Naruto, who grinned at the girl before reeling his palm back. If you say so, Crimson Devil style open palm thrust. Naruto attacks by slamming his palm in the face of the stone dragon and crushing it. It doesn't matter how many times you break them, they will reform. And once I get the pieces of my soul that girl has, I will be able to make ever more. She cackled. Nami was confused for a moment, then gasped and looked down at the bag holding the red rock. But the red stones we took from the other room, he must have put his soul into them like he did just now. Nami calls out to everyone, so that's how it works. Then if he gets that bag, Sanji thought, looking around the room they were in, and felt a chill run down his back at all the statues placed on the walls. We're so screwed if he gets that bag from you, eh? Naruto notices them too and races over to Luffy and the others. Luffy, Sanji, leave that guy to me and Zoro. Just look after Nami and deal with these stone dragons while we take care of him. Naruto yells, throwing Nami to Sanji much to her dismay. You got a plan? Zoro asked as Naruto was about to reach him. Yeah, the longer this fight lasts the more dangerous it will be for us. I'll hold him down and you cut his head off. Naruto, told to do an L turn and head for Ginjo, who opens his mouth and rushes at the blonde. At the last second Naruto sidestepped before he was eaten and gave a strong to open ribs, knocking him away. Why you? Ginjo roared as Naruto grabbed his right wrist and held the palm of said wrist at the man. Suddenly a blue energy like chain shot out of his open palm, wrapping around, stopping him from moving. Naruto yelled, pulling Ginjo into the air. What the hell? Sanji gasped, seeing Naruto's chain. Is he a devil fruit user? Nami asked, just as surprised, and seeing that had the only answer. No way. If he was, he'd be a hammer in the water like me. Luffy counters as Zoro jumps at the open Ginjo. Santoryu Zoro begins, but pauses as Ginjo relaxes and looks contained. Thank you, Jayuki. Yuzume. Zoro yells, lunging forward and cutting his head off. Everyone pauses, watching the head and body hit the ground, and Zoro soon follows. He thanked us for killing him, Nami said, unable to understand such a thing. Luffy and Sanji were looking at the lifeless head with the same expression. Naruto and Zoro weren't sure of what would happen either. Could it be that he was just waiting to die the whole time? Vivi said, moving from behind a rock she was hiding behind. At first Zoro had ordered both of them to hide and leave the fighting to him and the other, but since Nami was being the target, that hadn't worked out. Seems that way, but why? Naruto asked, but none of them had an answer. Going merry. After returning all the defected enemy pirates to their ship and sending said ship away, Chopper, who had finally woke Usopp up, was fixing the damaged part to the as best he could, while Usopp was putting away all the weapons they had taken from Puppy and his crew in a chest in case they needed to use them later on. Usopp. Chopper. Chopper stopped what he was doing and ran to the edge of the boat to see Zoro and Vivi sticking their heads out the water. This was soon followed by Luffy, on Sanji's back, Nami, and lastly Naruto. Don't just look, throw us a line. Usopp, they're back. Chopper yelled excitedly and threw down a rope ladder. Usopp, who had just finished putting the weapons away, came out to see Chopper helping Nami up with Zoro and Vivi already drying off. Ah, you guys are back, how's it going? Usopp asks to walk up to Zoro. Not bad for our first hunt, we ran into a few problems but nothing we couldn't handle. Zoro replied as Vivi looked around at the ship. What happened here? Looks like a fight went on. Vivi wondered, seeing slashes on the deck and cabin walls. Usopp smirked and looked rather smug. Well, you guys were down there playing around, the ship was attacked, and I had to fight off some enemy pirates. Zoro and Vivi just look at one another, not sure to believe, but when Usopp begins telling the story, inflating it a bit to make himself look better, they figure he was just making it up and turn to see Chopper helping up Sanji and Luffy. Okay Naruto, you're next. Chopper called. Naruto grunted, then to their surprise stood up on the water. What the hell, there was no way that guy was human. Sanji mutters as Naruto jumps up on the ship holding 3 chains and pulling 3 treasure cases wrapped around them on the ship. Landing on deck, Zoro caught 2 of them and Sanji had the last one. Usopp jaw-dropping at seeing the chains coming out of Naruto's hand, while Nami frowned. I still say you've got to have eaten a devil fruit, Nami stated as Naruto stood up. I would be able to swim if I did, besides I really don't like using this power if I don't have to. Naruto replied by unhooking the chain. Nami and the others looked confused at him, liking the useful ability. The energy chain went back into his hand and the entire arm seemed to go limp. After their use, no matter if it was hours or seconds, the arm that I use can't be used anymore for the next 72 hours. The whole crew was shocked by this as they hadn't noticed that power came with such a drawback. Walking to him, Nami picked up his right arm and noticed there was no feeling to it at all. He really can't move it. Nami thought, feeling a bit sorry that he had such a power, but it came with a horrible after effect. Well, that sucks for you, but we got the treasure, so we pretty much had a good day altogether. Sanji said normally he had a bad remark about any drawback Zoro and Naruto had, but that didn't mean he even went after the ones that caused them real problems. That was not a line he was willing to cross. Right, so let's check out what we got. Naruto said as Zoro and Sanji set the chests down and began opening them up. Hawkins, pirates. Back at the ship, Mira had taken Honey too. She sat on the edge of the ship looking out at sea. Captain Hawkins had thrown a welcoming party down below for Honey, who was enjoying herself. She had been there as well, but needed some time alone. The reason she had gone back home was to try and find an old friend. But found out he had gone to sea. She looked for him, but not matter how close she got, he was always just out of her reach. Nothing new there. Mira thought, sadly wondering what he would think when they met again. Bet he'll be so surprised to see me alive. She chuckled, remembering how she and her best friend Tashigi as kids used to annoy him whenever they could. Tears began to fall from her mask as she remembered a time when Smoker was yelling at him for slacking off on his training. Why did things have to end like they did? Mira thought, now becoming anger, remembering how her teeth came. But quickly calmed down them sigh. Tashigi, Smoker, and Naruto. I want to see you all again so much. Mira whispers into the night. Going merry. It was around 12 at night, and the crew was celebrating their first successful treasure hunt. Usopp and Sanji, the latter with his tongue hanging out, was playing some bongo drums and was doing a bad job of it as Nami, Vivi, and Chopper dance around Cover and Jules, while Luffy sat off to the side laughing at the sight. Looks like they're having fun. Another drink? Naruto asks, sitting next to Zoro, who holds out his mug, the two a few feet from the crew watching them act like fools. Sure, sighed Jules, worth God knows how much, and they're playing with them like toys. Zoro grunt, but Naruto just chuckles. Well, until we get to an exchange point there is not much use for anything else. So this is fine. Naruto said, pouring him a drink and then drinking from the bottle. The treasure chests were full of jewels rather than berries, so they had to wait to cash them in, but seeing the crew having a good time, Naruto really didn't care. Idiocy is too rampant in this crew. Zoro mutters with a tired smile. But that is what makes this crew the best, right? Naruto grinned, playing elbowing him. Zoro just chuckled at how well everyone fit together here. As the night went on, they all look forward to the next day and to when they reach Alabasta. Thanks for watching my video, and make sure to check out the author of this fanfic. Link is in the description. See you next time. Till then, sayonara.